Previously, the boss had been too slow and took significant damage from Shen's attack. Pissed off, the boss launched Shen into the air and smashed him back down to the ground. It then went in for the killing blow, but Shen managed to catch it in time, firing 21 arrows in rapid succession. The arrows left the boss with very low HP. Gu, confused, questioned why Shen hadn't finished off the boss. Shen explained that he had to do something first, as Yang was pretending to be dead. Now to this week's chapter. Out of nowhere, an arrow struck the ground beside his head. His eyes snapped open in fear, and he forgot all about pretending to be dead. He sat up, still shaken, and saw Shen standing nearby. Trembling, he asked if Shen had defeated the hidden boss. Shen, already crouched down, looked at him with a mix of amusement and exasperation. The boss was nearly finished, Shen explained, but still clinging to life. He remarked that this kid had tried playing dead without understanding that if he truly were gone, he would have vanished like the rest of his team. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees in front of Shen, bowing low and declaring Shen's power to be beyond anything he could have imagined. He begged Shen to spare him, admitting he hadn't recognized Shen's true strength. Regret flooded him as he recalled how he'd foolishly tried to act tough in front of Shen earlier. Shen said he could spare Yang's life and that he would even gain some experience for defeating the hidden boss. Yang, feeling hopeful, asked if Shen was really going to let him go. But then Shen's face grew serious. He told Yang he would do all of that, but only if Yang agreed to do something in return. Shen explained that he didn't need help right now, but when the time came, he would find Yang and let him know what was needed. He pulled back another arrow and asked Yang if he was going to agree. Yang, feeling the pressure, held his hands up and asked for a moment to think about it. As Shen thought to himself, he considered how Xiaotia would soon take action, quietly aligning with other groups in the company to remove him from his position. Shen then realized that, while Yang's family wasn't very powerful, they were small and could be easily won over. Gaining their support would give him the time he needed. He also remembered that the attributes would become real in 6 months. Shen knew he had to make the most of this time, leveling up and gathering items to prepare for what lay ahead. Still trembling, Yang asked what would stop Shen from dealing with him once he agreed. Shen smiled, waiting for Yang to negotiate a condition. He explained that if Yang didn't set a condition, the deal would fall apart. Shen added that if Yang wasn't clever enough to negotiate, he wouldn't work with him at all. Yang, now understanding Shen's point, laughed. He realized this was how deals were made and shouldn't be afraid of what the condition might be. Yang leaned back, trying his best to smile, and stated that his condition was simple. Shen had to help him level up and secure his position as the leader of the Green Snake Gang. In return, he promised to agree to anything Shen asked, as long as it was within his abilities. Hearing the condition, Shen smiled, thinking to himself that the kid really didn't know how to hold back when asking for something. Without warning, Shen activated his skill and fired an arrow into the sky. Yang sat frozen in shock, wondering what was going on and whether he was about to be defeated right then and there. The arrows flew in a different direction than Yang had expected, and he watched in confusion as they seemed to head toward a hole. He didn't realize that, because he had been pretending to be dead, the hole was where the hidden boss was still clinging to life with very little HP left. As the arrows neared, the boss thought its end had finally come. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted when the arrows struck the hidden boss. Shen turned to Yang with a smile and stated that they had a deal. Yang stared at the destruction caused by Shen's arrow. The power of just one shot was overwhelming, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. As he looked around, uncertainty crept in. Had he made the right decision? He wondered if agreeing to Shen's favor would bring him more trouble than he could handle. Suddenly, a system window popped up for both of them. Shen's window stated that he had leveled up by defeating stronger opponents, raising his level from 13 to 15. It also showed that he had 14 unassigned attribute points and had received the title Wolf Slayer. With this title, the villagers would now show gratitude toward him. Meanwhile, Yang could hardly believe what the system had told him. In shock, he exclaimed that his level had jumped from level 8 to level 10 in one go. Yang turned to Shen, bowed his head, and clasped his hands together in respect. He stated that he would never forget the favor Shen had done for him. Yang understood that he was now level 10, a milestone that put him in the top 1% of players, a rare achievement that made him part of the game's leading group. Shen simply closed his system window after collecting all the loot. He then told Yang to stop calling him Big Brother, as he didn't want to take on little brothers. Suddenly, a chilling killing intent filled the air as Shen's expression hardened. He warned Yang that if he ever used his name to ruin his reputation, he would hunt him down. Shen made it clear that nothing would stop him from finding Yang if that ever happened. Feeling the weight of Shen's killing intent, Yang quickly stated that he would never do such a thing. He reminded Shen that he represented the Green Snake Gang and vowed to remain loyal to his big brother until the very end. Shen ignored Yang's words and turned to Gu, calling her a little brat. He yelled that it was time to leave. Gu looked back, recognizing the strength Shen had shown. She understood that despite warning him of the slim chances of success, Shen had somehow managed to complete the mission. Little Miss Gu walked over to Shen as he explained once more that he would let Yang know when the time was right. Yang nodded in agreement. Gu then held Shen's hand as they began to walk back toward town. Yang, still filled with gratitude, bowed deeply once more and declared that he would repay what his big brother had done for him in the future. A few minutes later, Gu turned to Shen, admiring his strength and skill. She smiled and said that she had made up her mind. She would marry Shen and become his wife. Shen's face darkened, visibly pissed off by her words. He recalled how Yang's guild members had mocked him for being Gu's husband, and he knew things were already getting out of hand. Shen realized he needed to set things straight with Gu before the situation spiraled further. Pissed off, Shen turned to her and screamed that he had told her earlier it was just a joke. He reminded her that she was just an NPC, a pile of data, and that she was still a little kid. He explained that she couldn't call him her husband since she wasn't even close to being old enough. Shen sternly told her to never call him that again. Gu simply looked at him with a puzzled expression on her face. As the conversation settled, Gu's expression shifted. She suddenly understood one thing from what Shen had said, and it made her furious. She glared at him, feeling a surge of anger. Without warning, she leapt at him and bit down hard on his neck, shouting that she wasn't a kid. Shen, caught off guard by the sudden attack, gritted his teeth, his own anger rising at what she had just done. Shen quickly pulled her off him and lifted her into the air. Gu, still furious, continued to shout that she was a young lady, throwing a tantrum as she struggled in his grip. Shen, rubbing his neck where she had bitten him, looked at her with a raised eyebrow and muttered, "Who designed such an NPC to act this way?" Shen quickly realized he was getting nowhere and sighed in defeat. He finally said that Gu was a young lady and needed to stop making a fuss. He wanted to check the loot he had gotten from the boss. Gu, however, crossed her arms and stubbornly stated that it was Shen's fault for treating her like a child in the first place. Meanwhile, the system announced that Shen had received the White Wolf's pants, a silver grade item. The pants required level 15 to equip and provided a plus 17 boost to evasion, plus 20 to agility, and a passive effect that increased movement speed by 100% when at full HP. Shen smiled in satisfaction as he equipped the pants. He then remarked that his movement speed had doubled, and with the boost, it would almost feel like he was flying when he moved. The system then displayed the next item, Steel Wolf's Claws, a silver grade item meant only for assassins. The claws required level 15 to equip and offered a plus 200% critical damage boost. It also granted a skill called Flash Strike, which allowed the user to teleport behind a target for a surprise attack. Shen read the information, realizing this was the same item the boss had used against him. He then dismissed it as trash. Gu, confused, looked around and asked why Shen called it trash when nothing was in front of them. Next, the system displayed an item called White Wolf's Fur, a rare grade item. Shen noticed the rare grade and immediately thought it must be valuable. Curious to see what would happen, he decided to equip it and see its effects. Suddenly, Shen's hand began to glow brightly as white energy gathered around it. He was left wondering what was happening, while Gu watched closely, intrigued. The system then announced that it was a legendary summoning skill called Wolves Minions, with the only requirement being that the user needed to be level 10 to equip it. The system continued, explaining that the skill summons to phantom wolves. These wolves could detect hidden units and attack them. Their attack power was 30, and their HP was 200. The cost to activate the skill was 30 MP, with a cooldown of 80 seconds. Shen smiled as he realized the rare item had granted him this new skill. Seeing that it cost 20 silver coins to learn, he wasted no time and spent the coins on it. He thought to himself that now he could build a summoning playstyle, with both his phantoms and the newly acquired phantom wolves at his disposal. The system confirmed that the coins had been spent and that he now owned the skill. Shen then noticed the rest of the loot consisted of consumables, including 3 crystal coins, 42 gold coins, and 17 silver coins. The scene shifted to Gu's mother, who was sitting with tears in her eyes. She was worried and kept asking why Shen hadn't returned yet. She anxiously thought about her little girl and the possibility of her getting hurt during the mission. Gu's mother, growing more upset, glared at the village chief. She angrily blamed her for sending her little girl on such a dangerous mission, questioning why Shen would even bother fighting the hidden boss. She raged that Shen was doomed from the start by accepting the mission. The village chief looked away, realizing that this might have been a poor decision on her part. Suddenly, the village chief turned her gaze in the other direction as she sensed people approaching. As the group came into view, she calmly stated to Gu's mother that her little girl had returned. Gu's mother immediately stopped shouting at the village chief and turned to look, seeing her daughter walking toward them. However, she quickly noticed that Shen was still with her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.